It is a quiet Tuesday afternoon, and you are sitting in your truck, or maybe you are just finishing up lunch at home when your phone rings. You look at the screen and you don't recognize the number, or maybe it shows up as a local area code, so you pick it up out of habit. The voice on the other end sounds polite, professional, even a little friendly. They introduce themselves as an agent with the ATF, or maybe a local detective working on a task force. They say they just have a quick question about a purchase you made a few years ago, or they are just trying to clear up some paperwork regarding a serial number. Your heart rate might jump a little, but you are a law-abiding citizen. You have nothing to hide. You want to help. You don't want to look suspicious by being rude or hanging up. So you start talking. You answer that one simple question, then another. And just like that, without them ever stepping foot on your property or showing you a warrant, you have just given them the evidence they needed to build a case against you. You might have just admitted to a technical violation you didn't even know existed, or you might have misremembered a date which they will now label as making a false statement to a federal officer. This happens every single day. Good people, legal gun owners, talk themselves into a felony because they treat a phone call like a casual conversation. It is not a conversation. It is an investigation. And the moment that phone connects, you are on the losing ground. You need to know exactly how to handle this because the phone is the most common way they will try to contact you first. It is low cost for them and high risk for you. You need a shield, a verbal shield that stops the inquiry dead in its tracks without you being aggressive or combative. You don't need a long speech. You don't need to quote the Second Amendment or argue about the Constitution. You need 10 words. If you take nothing else from this, memorize this sentence right now. When that agent asks you anything at all, you say, "I cannot speak with you without my attorney present." That is it. I cannot speak with you without my attorney present. You can add a polite, "I'm sorry," at the start if it makes you feel more comfortable, like, "I am sorry, but I cannot speak with you without my attorney present." Or you can simply say, "I am refusing to answer questions without my lawyer." These variations all do the exact same thing. They invoke your rights immediately, and they create a legal barrier that the officer cannot cross if they want their evidence to hold up in court. Now, before we walk through exactly how this plays out in real life, you have to understand why the phone is such a dangerous trap. When an officer calls you, they have the advantage. They have likely been preparing for this call for hours or days. They have a file in front of them with your records, your 4,473s, maybe your social media posts. You, on the other hand, are caught off guard. You might be driving, you might be at work, you might be tired. You are not ready. Psychologically, human beings are wired to be helpful. We are wired to fill silence. On the phone, silence is awkward. If the agent asks a question and you hesitate, you feel a social pressure to speak, to explain, to clarify. They know this. They count on this. They know that if they can keep you talking, you will eventually slip up. You will guess at a date. You will admit to owning something that is currently in a legal gray area. And here is the most critical part. In many jurisdictions, or depending on how they record the call, your words are evidence, but your memory of the call is just hearsay. If they are taking notes, they write down what they think they heard. If you say, "I think I sold that rifle," and they write down suspect admitted to selling the rifle, and later it turns out the buyer was a prohibited person, you have a massive problem. You cannot manage the context of a phone call. You cannot see their face. You cannot see if they are recording. You have zero control. That is why the only winning move is to not play. Let's look at how this sounds in the real world, because it is rarely as aggressive as you think it will be. Let's start with the most common scenario, the friendly inquiry. The phone rings. You pick up. The voice says, "Hi, is this Mr. Smith? This is Agent Miller with the ATF. Look, we're just auditing some records from a gun store that went out of business nearby, and we see you bought a lower receiver back in 2021. We just need to verify you still have it so we can close this file. Quick 5-second question. Can you just confirm that for me?" This sounds harmless. It sounds administrative. He sounds like a guy who just wants to finish his paperwork and go home to his family. You want to say, "Yeah, I got it in the safe." Don't do it. That confirmation could be the link they are missing. Instead, you take a breath, you stay calm, and you say, "I'm sorry, agent, but I cannot speak with you without my attorney present." Now, the agent might chuckle. He might say, "Oh, come on, Mr. Smith, you're not in trouble. We don't need lawyers for this. I just need to check a box. Don't you want to help us clear this up?" This is the hook. They try to make you feel like getting a lawyer makes you look guilty. It doesn't. It makes you smart. You repeat the line, firmly but politely. "I understand, but I cannot speak with you without my attorney present." If he pushes again, you hang up. You are not required to stay on the line. Now let's look at a tougher scenario. The pushy officer. This agent isn't asking for a favor. He sounds authoritative, maybe a little impatient. He calls and says, "Mr. Smith, this is Agent Davis. We have reason to believe you might be in possession of an item that violates the NFA. We need to know right now if you have any solvent traps or forced reset triggers in your possession. Lying to a federal agent is a felony, so I need a straight answer." This is designed to panic you. The mention of a felony, the stern tone, it triggers your fight or flight response. Your instinct is to defend yourself, to say no, "I don't have that," or "I bought that legally." But remember, if you deny it and they have evidence you bought it, they can charge you for the lie even if the item itself was legal when you bought it. Do not let the tone rattle you. The law does not change just because he raised his voice. You use the exact same script. You say, "I am not answering any questions without my attorney present." He might snap back, "Look, if you don't talk to me here, we're going to have to send agents out to your house and do this the hard way." Is that what you want? This is a common threat. It is designed to make the phone call seem like the easy option. It is not. If they had enough to raid your house, they would probably already be there. They are phishing. You hold the line. "I cannot speak with you without my attorney present." Then you disconnect. Then there is the third scenario, the complex trap, where they try to get you to meet in person. The phone rings. "Mr. Smith, we have some serious concerns about a transaction involving your name. We're not going to discuss this over the phone. We need you to come down to the field office today to clear this up, or we can meet you at a coffee shop." This is dangerous. They are trying to get you into an uncontrolled environment or into an interrogation room where you feel trapped. If you agree to meet, you are validating their investigation. You are showing compliance. Never agree to a meeting over the phone without legal counsel. Your response is the same, but with a slight variation to address the meeting request. You say, "I will not meet with you or answer any questions without my attorney present." If they ask when your attorney can meet, you say, "I will have my attorney contact you if necessary. Goodbye." And you hang up. You do not schedule it for them. You do not offer a time. You shut it down. You have to be disciplined because there are so many wrong things you could say that feel right in the moment. I hear these mistakes all the time. The biggest one is the explanation. Someone says, "Oh, I sold that rifle 3 years ago at a gun show." You think you are clearing your name. But what if the person you sold it to used it in a crime? Now you are the last known owner of record, and you just admitted you transferred it without paperwork, which might be legal in your state, but now you are the focus of the investigation. Or you say, "I didn't do anything wrong. I follow the law." That is a vague denial. If they find one technicality, you have now made a false statement. Another common mistake is the helpful hearsay. You say, "I don't know about that, but my buddy Dave bought one." You have just involved a friend and made yourself a witness. Never offer information. Never offer names. Never offer dates. And absolutely never try to outsmart them. You might know the Second Amendment, but they know the federal statutes and the interrogation techniques. You cannot win a debate on the phone. The phone is for communication between equals. You and the federal government are not equals in this situation. They have the power to indict. You have the power to remain silent. Use your power. It is important to remember that these agents are professionals at conversation. They are trained to extract information. They use silence. They use false empathy. They use fear. When you use the 10-word script, "I cannot speak with you without my attorney present," you are not being rude. You are simply shifting the venue of the conversation from a sloppy, dangerous phone call to a controlled, protected legal environment. You are taking the game off their home turf and putting it in the hands of professionals who know the rules. Once you say those words, the interview is legally over. If they keep asking, they are violating your rights, and any evidence they get after that point is likely inadmissible. But you have to say the words. You cannot just stay silent on the phone, because silence can be interpreted as acquiescence or confusion. You must clearly invoke the right to counsel. So let's recap. If your phone rings and it is the ATF, the FBI, or the police asking about your firearms, you do not answer questions. You do not confirm your identity beyond what is basic. You do not agree to meet. You do not verify serial numbers. You do not defend yourself. You take a breath, you stay calm, and you say, "I cannot speak with you without my attorney present." Then you hang up the phone. You write down the number they called from, you write down the time, and you write down exactly what they said. Then you call a lawyer who specializes in Second Amendment law. Do not rely on a general practice attorney for this. Get someone who knows gun laws in your specific state. Please understand that I am sharing this information for educational purposes only. I am an instructor, not your attorney, and this is not personal legal advice. Laws regarding recording conversations, obstruction, and firearm transfers vary wildly from state to state and can change overnight. What works in Texas might be different in New Jersey. Always consult with a qualified attorney in your jurisdiction for advice on your specific situation. Now, what happens if you ignore the call and 2 days later you hear a knock at your front door? That is a completely different scenario with a different set of rules, because now they are physically present and the pressure is 10 times higher. I'm going to cover exactly how to handle the knock and talk in the next video, because if you think the phone call is tricky, the doorstep is a minefield. Stay safe, stay legal, and keep your mouth shut until you have counsel.